Sony is making a huge comeback, bringing a certain series back to the audio world that may be new to others, but with a lot of old school heads, this will be sweet nostalgia. To some, there was no comparison when it came to the quality of products that came from the line years ago. But now they're back and better than ever, releasing their beloved line of audiophile equipment for you to enjoy in your car. Stay tuned. Elevated Standard. Sony's top-of-the-line products that emphasize the highest build quality and refinements to deliver an unmatched audio experience. Hey, what's up? My name is Josh. I'm with Breakers Stereo and Performance. Welcome to the YouTube channel that reviews, goes over, and demos the best in aftermarket audio accessories like car audio, performance, suspension, and more, because we don't drive stock. And if you're like us, where stock just doesn't cut it, then join the Breakers Upgrade Nation by subscribing to this channel. The Sony Mobile ES line is Sony's flagship models of receivers, subwoofers, amps, and speakers that bring top-notch sound quality. Today, we'll be looking at the Sony XAV-9500ES, a $1,400 10-inch screen that includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with loads of goodies built into this head unit. In this video, we're going to take a look at all the great features this radio has to offer. And then we'll go over the pros and cons list. And finally, we'll give you our overall thoughts. So let's dive deep and take a closer look at this head unit. Okay, so the XAV-9500ES has a ton of new features compared to the other floating panel head unit in the lineup, the 9-inch XAV-AX8100. Now the 9500 has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto capabilities, so you're able to enjoy music and audio apps, navigation apps, and messaging apps straight off of your phone wirelessly to the face of this big, bold, and bright 10.1-inch monitor. Speaking of monitors, it has a gapless 1280 by 720 HD anti-glare capacitive touchscreen that has a transparent adhesive bonded to the LED directly to the protective glass touch layer. As a result, the touch experience is incredibly precise with improved contrast and visual performance. And this has a 4-way adjustable screen. You're able to move the screen in and out, plus or minus 3/4 inches, the height up or down, plus or minus 2.375 inches, left to right, plus or minus 1 inch, and the tilt plus or minus 10 degrees, giving great flexibility so you don't have to block out any of the essential dials or vents in your vehicle. The dimensions of the screen are 6 5/8 in height and 10 5/8 in width, and this has a single DIN chassis. Now, Sony embraced the concept of high-res audio for this head unit. Now, as a reference, standard CD is 16-bit 44.1 kilohertz. This unit's built-in digital signal processor is capable of 192 kilohertz at 24-bit, which is 6.5 times more data transfer than CDs. For use for FLAC, WAVE, ALAC files, and other formats that support high-resolution audio. Wireless high-res audio is also supported through LDAC if you have high-res music stored on your phone. Sony employs a high-end ESS digital audio converter chip to improve overall sound quality. Because of the high performance, the 32-bit processing, and the elimination of timing jitter, you'll hear an excellent dynamic range with minimal distortion. But it gets even better. You have a choice between a 14-band graphic EQ or an 8-band parametric EQ. Now, a parametric EQ will allow you to adjust which frequency you want to boost within the band, along with the Q factor, which affects the surrounding frequencies before and after that frequency, and you can adjust it either narrow or wider, versus a graphic EQ, which is a set frequency, and you can only adjust the boost and not the Q factor. But if you're using it in parametric mode, this radio gives you independent left, right for both front and rear, which is a huge feature if you're setting up your system for accurate staging. Now, we discussed that in great detail in one of our last videos where we took a look at Alpine's new Halo 9 and Halo 11. So for more details on that, just check that video out. Okay, this radio also comes with fully adjustable time alignment, although there are a few presets if you want to make it easy on yourself. This radio has 6 5-volt pre-outs, front, rear, and sub, along with built-in crossovers for your front, rear, and sub channels. Now the crossover points for the front and rear are 50, 63, 79, 99, 125, 158, 198, and 250. And the slope can either be 12 or 24 dB per octave. And the subwoofer crossover points are the same as the front and rear, but the slope you can choose between a 12, 24, 36, or 48 dB per octaves. So you can really get a steep slope for your subs. Now the internal amp runs 20 watts RMS with a maximum of 55 watts per channel. And it has Bluetooth capabilities for music and phone calls and comes with an external Bluetooth mic. Also a standard AM/FM tuner and is Sirius XM compatible. External tuner required. You do have a rear USB Type-C port that comes with an extension. Now note, this will not support data transfer from a phone, so no wired CarPlay or wired Android Auto. It only will charge the phone, but of course it will read music off a USB storage device. Now, of course, you have a backup camera input, but they also give you 2 additional camera inputs that can be used for a front or side camera. No, you will have to manually select these cameras. It will not automatically turn on the front camera when parallel parking or side camera when hitting a turn signal. And this radio also is iData Maestro compatible. Now, the iData Maestro RR modules allow you to tie into newer vehicles' communication systems for things like climate control, vehicle information center, steering wheel controls, amplified systems, and more. But if your car is a little older or doesn't have some of those features, but still want to retain the steering wheel button controls, you can still do that with a more basic steering wheel adapter. Okay, the home screen is clean and the setting menu is basic. Now you might be wondering why Sony radios are like this when other brands have more elaborate interfacing. I thought that too, so I asked my Sony rep and he explained Sony uses the user interface along the full line of Sony electronics, from PlayStation 5 to their flat screen TVs. And they wanted to keep the same feel in all the electronics. Okay, makes sense to me. But let's take a closer look. You can move around the sources or option settings by holding and dragging. And I can say you can move around the options with a minimal amount of effort, so there's not too much of a learning curve on this radio. Now Sony does give you a few preset wallpapers if you don't like the plain black screen. And you can also upload images through a USB device. Now I want to point out a couple things. The bezel. The bezel around the LED screen, I don't care for it so much. And it measures 1 inch at the bottom, 3/4 inches on the sides, and about a 1/2 inch at the top. Now this seems to be the theme with floating panel radios made by major companies. So it's not abnormal to have a large bezel around the screen. But manufacturers, please listen to us. We've gotten used to bezel-less phones and TV screens, so when we first look at a screen like this, we ask ourselves, why is the bezel so large? Although when I'm using this radio, I really don't notice it so much, but when you first look at it, it does stand out. Okay, food for thought, Sony and Alpine and JVC and Kenwood and even Pioneer, even though your bezels are thinner than the rest. Okay, there are also buttons on the top of this radio for standby, volume up and down, track up and down, and voice. All right, pros and cons. We love the attention to the high-res playback on the new screen. The radio performs absolutely well with very minimal to no lag on the interface. Now the interface is simple and gets straight to the point. It's basically very foolproof and easy to get the hang of. Although this radio rocks for music, it doesn't have audio video in or out and does not have an HDMI input, so there is no video playback for it. For the price, they could have thrown in HD radio and of course the bezel. All in all, the Sony Elevated Standard line is dedicated to those seeking awesome sound quality and looking to have the best of the best in audio playback. This radio checks off many things on our list despite not having any video playback like most of the floating screen radios on the market. But then again, this thing is made to play music. This radio is very well made and has that minimalist look. So if you're into that, this may be the radio for you. Seeing that Sony logo right in the middle will remind you that they have you covered with your sound quality setup. To us, we feel like Sony has set a new standard for audio. That just means the competition will get better and better. Sony, thanks for this one. This is a great unit. If you're interested in this radio, there's a link in the description below taking you directly to the product page. Remember, we do have financing available. Simply add to cart, pick a financing option, get approved, and we'll send your radio out to you as soon as we can. Okay, that's gonna do it. My name is Josh. I'm with Breaker Stereo and Performance. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.